Welcome to the deep dive. We dig into the sources so you don't have to, pulling out the key insights to get you up to speed. Today, we're tackling something, well, genuinely fascinating and, frankly, pretty unsettling. The mystery of upright callants. Dogmen, man-wolves, maybe the famous Beast of Bray Road.
That's right. Sightings of these creatures, they've been around for decades, captivating and terrifying people, especially, it seems, in the Midwest. Our sources today, they lean heavily on the work of Linda Godfrey. She's an author and investigator. Spent more than 20 years really meticulously documenting these encounters. So we'll dig into how these sightings sort of popped onto the radar. We'll look at some really striking eyewitness accounts, the kind that are hard to just explain away. Then, we'll unpack the theories. What are these things? It's quite a puzzle. You might find yourself questioning, well, quite a bit about the natural world.
Okay, so let's unpack that origin. It starts in Wisconsin, right? 1991. Linda Godfrey herself, she initially thought it was just a small piece, a throwaway story, she called it.
Exactly. She was working for the week newspaper, needed something for a slow news week. She even did this sketch, her kneeling roadkill artwork, for the paper on December 29th, 91. It was about the Beast of Bray Road near Elkhorn, Wisconsin.
Just a local oddity story, she thought?
Yeah, but then the reaction was huge, unexpected. Hundreds of people started coming forward saying, hey, I saw something like that too. What Linda found out pretty quickly was this wasn't new. Some stories from the Bray Road area went back maybe 10 years before her article. There was even one possible link way back to 1936 in Jefferson County, which is, not far, maybe 40 miles away.
So not just a Wisconsin thing anymore. It went national, global even.
Seems like it. The same type of creature described anyway. All across the U.S. and, reports from other parts of the world too.
And Linda Godfrey, she really ran with this. It wasn't just one article.
Oh, absolutely not. Her skepticism turned into, a decades-long investigation. She's written, 4 books just on these upright canines, out of maybe 16 or more total. And she's been all over national radio and TV monster quest, coast to coast AM. She's really become a central figure in researching this phenomenon.
Okay, so when you look at all these reports she's gathered, hundreds of them.
Yeah.
Are there patterns? What are people consistently describing?
Oh, definitely. There's a remarkable pattern.
Yeah.
Timing-wise, most sightings are late night, say 10:30 p.m. to 5 a.m. But, not always. Some are twilight, dawn, even broad daylight.
Any seasonal spikes?
In Wisconsin, yeah. August to October seems to be peak season, often linked to the cornfield being high then, offering cover for movement.
The cornfields. Right. And location. Any common threads there?
Very much so. Often near cemeteries, which is interesting. Also near old sacred sites, like burial mounds, effigy mounds, crossroads pop up a lot, churches, even military areas. And almost always, there's water nearby, a river, a lake, a marsh, and some kind of cover like brush or, again, those cornfields.
Water and cover. That makes sense for any large creature trying to stay hidden, I suppose. But, okay, the big question. What do people actually say they see? The physical description.
Right. And this is where it gets really compelling because of the consistency. Height is usually pegged at 6 to 7 feet tall when they're standing bipedally on 2 legs, though some reports mention shorter or sort of hunched over.
And the build.
Generally described as brawny, muscular, stocky, barrel-chested comes up. But then again, you also get descriptions like lanky or lean, so there's some variation. Fur color varies too. Dark, shaggy, matted, black, dark brown, brownish, sometimes silvery gray or even white. A few mention long tufts of hair.
And the head, is it always a classic wolf head?
Mostly, yeah. Wolf-like head, pointy ears, sometimes a longer muzzle, sometimes shorter. But there are some really strange ones too. Some reports mention a more human-like head shape without a muzzle. Or even, get this, round like a pumpkin.
Round like a... Wow, okay.
Yeah. And one witness described the most hideous and evil-looking face, maybe triangular, with really prominent teeth, like very, very plentiful and visible.
Yikes. What about the eyes? That's often a key feature in these kinds of reports.
Absolutely. Glowing eyes are mentioned frequently, yellow, red, orange, red, or sometimes described as glittery and dark, with no visible whites, no sclera, just dark orbs. People often get this feeling from the eyes, like they looked right through me, or just an intense, evil-looking stare. It's very unsettling for the witnesses.
And how do they move? You mentioned bipedal, but do they stick to that?
That's another really weird part. They seem to do both. They can walk or run on 2 legs bipedally, but they can also drop down and move on all 4s quadrupedally. And some witnesses swear they saw the creature shift between 2 legs and 4 legs during the same sighting.
Shifting stances. Okay, how fast are they?
Descriptions vary. Quick, easy strides, ungodly fast, sometimes more lumbering. Some reports mention incredible leaping ability. Other details. Some have long, bushy tails. Others seem to have short ones or no tail at all. Legs sometimes look canine, sometimes more bear-like, maybe flat-footed. So some inconsistencies there too.
So you have this creature, often tall, muscular, wolf-like, but with variations, glowing eyes, moves on 2 or 4 legs. How does it typically behave when someone sees it?
Behaviorally, it often seems aggressive or at least defensive. Like it wants to avoid being seen, wants to get out of sight as quickly as possible. So
Yeah.
they definitely frighten people with aggressive postures or actions. But it's important to note, Linda Godfrey points out she hasn't found, quote, a single report of any human being injured by a man-wolf. Well, except for one case in Quebec, a man who got deeply scratched on his hip and side. But generally, it seems to be intimidation rather than physical attack on humans.
Okay, so mostly scary, but not directly attacking people. What else do they hunt?
Yeah, they've been seen as scavengers and also hunters of small game, deer. Makes sense for a large predator. But then sometimes they seem completely unafraid, just standing there, not bothered by people or cars. One report mentioned one being unconcerned about an oncoming train.
That's bold. Or just unaware in a strange way? Any signs of intelligence beyond just animal instinct?
Yes, definitely. Things like seeming to deliberately hide or appearing to know they're being looked for. Witnesses sometimes feel the creature is sensing their intentions. And they make sounds, growls, obviously, but also things described as whips suggest maybe some kind of communication.
Right, beyond just growling. Okay, let's get into some specific stories. These patterns are fascinating, but the individual encounters must be where it really hits home. Can you share a couple of the really striking ones?
Absolutely. The one with Stephen Kruger, the roadkill contractor in Washington County, Wisconsin, back in November 2006, that was pretty wild. He described seeing something bear-like, but not a bear. He actually called it a werewolf.
A werewolf.
Yeah. And this thing, according to Kruger, pulled a deer carcass he'd collected and an aluminum ramp right out of his truck bed. Then it just vanished.
Pulled a deer in a ramp. That's incredible strength.
Exactly. Kruger was adamant it wasn't Bigfoot, though interestingly, a deputy who responded apparently logged it as a Yeti sighting. Investigator Mike Lane later found some large, kind of undefined bipedal footprints nearby. Just imagine seeing that happen.
I really can't. Yeah. What else? Any that highlight that creepy feeling people get?
There's the story from Lenny and Stacy Fadis, spring 2005 near Lima Marsh. They saw this creature muscular, maybe 7 feet tall, 350 pounds, walk across a 20-foot road in just 2 steps.
2 steps. Wow.
Yeah, huge strides. But what also stuck with them was seeing a farmer nearby, working late, tractor lights blazing, which seemed unusual. And both of them felt this intense, overwhelming feeling of, get out of here, NW. They actually started calling that road Spooky Hollow Road afterwards. That sense of dread, that warning feeling, it comes up a lot.
That internal alarm bell going off. And sometimes the creature seems almost confrontational or just unnervingly present.
Yeah, like Ron's experience near Lansing, Michigan, May 2006. Driving in the country, suddenly sees this huge, wolf-faced silhouette with reflective eyes just emerge from a hill. It just stood there, staring at him for maybe 20 seconds. He freaks out, speeds off, looks in his rearview mirror.
And it's there.
And it's standing calmly in the middle of the road behind him.
Eh.
That's not just a fleeting glimpse. That's interaction. Staring, then reappearing. It's bizarre.
Definitely more than just a startled animal running away. What about people who actually went looking for it?
But right, there's that Bray Road sighting in 2004. A registered nurse and 2 teenagers, they decided to intentionally drive around Bray Road hoping to see something.
Brave. Or maybe foolish.
Maybe a bit of both. Well, they got more than they bargained for. Suddenly, this thing, 7 feet tall, brawny, dark fur, those glittery and dark eyes just popped out of the corn super aggressively, only about 9 feet away from their car. The nurse, having medical training, anatomy knowledge, she was absolutely certain this is not a person in a suit. The way it moved, its proportions, it was real and angry.
9 feet away, popping out of corn, that's terrifying. And then the indoor encounters, those seem even more impossible.
Yeah, those are deeply disturbing. Russell told Linda Godfrey about his friend Casey's experience in Long Beach, California. Not exactly werewolf country, right?
Not what you'd expect now.
She woke up in the middle of the night, saw 2 orange-red eyes glowing at the foot of her bed. And then she described a tall man covered in short, black fur with a dog's or wolf's head, like the Egyptian god Anubis.
Oh my God, in her bedroom.
Right there. Described as very muscular. It apparently took one leap, jumped out her closed window, shattering the screen on the way out. The police came. They actually found animal fur and some blood on the broken screen.
Fur and blood. So physical evidence left behind from an indoor, Anubis-like creature.
Oh,
Wow.
it's one of the most chilling accounts, for sure. And just quickly, another one highlighting the sense is a group walking at night in southwest Michigan. This was years ago. They heard panting beside them in a dark cornfield. Felt like something was pacing them. One of them threw a rock into the corn. Heard a yelp, then a howl, then this incredibly loud growl. Really close, they saw yellow eyes watching them from the corn. And they also noticed this awful smell, like roadkill kind of smell. Panting, pacing, vocalizations, eyes, smell. It engages multiple senses.
Okay, so hundreds of reports, decades of sightings, these incredibly vivid, often terrifying encounters. Where does that leave us? What does Linda Godfrey herself think is going on?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Linda is very clear. She says, I do not believe these are traditional werewolves, like in the movies. She flat out states, as far as I'm concerned, their true nature is yet to be determined. She thinks there's a high probability that everyone is not always seeing the same thing.
Not one single answer, then.
Exactly. Could be actual biological animals we don't know about yet. Could be phantoms or apparitions. Could be misidentifications of known animals. Could even be hoaxes in some cases. She keeps an open mind, but acknowledges the complexity.
Right. So if it's likely not just one thing, what are some of the main theories people throw around trying to explain at least some of these sightings? Let's start with the more, maybe grounded ones.
Okay, one idea Linda's looked into is what she calls the indigenous dogman theory. Basically, could there be an unknown species of wolf, or wolf-like canine, that actually evolved to move bipedally sometimes?
Like a biological cryptid.
Yeah, an undiscovered animal. Zoologists, of course, haven't confirmed anything like that, and it raises huge questions about evolution and why such a large creature would remain hidden. But it's a biological possibility some consider.
Then you get into ideas that are less strictly biological, like guardians.
Right. Some theories suggest these creatures might be protectors, maybe interdimensional ones, perhaps summoned by Native American shamans historically to guard sacred lands from being desecrated. Or maybe just guardians of nature in general, upset by what humans are doing to the environment. This often comes up when sightings happen near those ancient mound sites or burial grounds, or when the creature seems to give off a warning vibe.
Feels more supernatural or spiritual?
It definitely leans that way. Then there's the idea of selective evolution. Maybe wolves, facing extinction pressures from humans, develop some kind of ability to mimic human form as a survival tactic. It's pretty speculative biology, but it's out there.
Okay, and what about connections to older myths or texts? You mentioned Anubis, but people bring up other things too.
Oh, yeah. Some people link these creatures to things like the Nephilim from the Bible, those enigmatic figures sometimes seen as giants or angelic hybrids, or the cynocephali, the dog-headed men that you see mentioned in really old accounts, like from Marco Polo or even St. Augustine.
Dog-headed men, huh?
Yeah. And some witnesses feel the encounters have a demonic quality, and some even report the creature disappearing when they invoked religious figures or prayers. So that leads to theories about them being demonic entities. People try to fit it into existing frameworks.
Makes sense. And then there are the really out there theories talking about dimensions and physics.
Right, the quantum interaction idea. This suggests maybe these aren't creatures from our dimension, but beings from a higher dimension or density just sort of bleeding through or partially manifesting here. That could explain why they appear and disappear so suddenly, why photos sometimes look distorted or warped, like they're not fully solidified in our reality.
Like looking at a deep-sea fish brought to the surface, it looks weird because it's out of its element.
Exactly that kind of analogy. This theory even sometimes links them to UFOs, suggesting UFOs might create temporary rifts or doorways allowing these things to cross over. It connects different types of high strangeness.
And lastly, what about just hybrids, like weird dog breeds or experiments?
That gets talked about too. Could they be some unknown type of wolf-dog hybrid? Or maybe even escapees from some secret black ops genetic experiments, maybe involving breeds like the Eastern Shepherd. But Linda Godfrey herself notes that, based on current science, human canine DNA compatibility for some of the really man-like descriptions seems extremely unlikely, probably impossible. But people speculate, trying to find any explanation for the weirdness.
So we've gone from a local newspaper story to global sightings, consistent descriptions of bizarre creatures, terrifying encounters, and theories ranging from unknown wolves to interdimensional quantum phantoms. As we wrap up this dive, what's the big takeaway for you? What stands out most from all this?
For me, it's the sheer persistence and consistency of the reports. Despite the high strangeness, people keep seeing these things, describing similar features and behaviors, often independently of each other. And Linda Godfrey's meticulous work highlights that. It forces you to confront the possibility that there are things happening, things being witnessed, that just don't fit neatly into our standard understanding of the world.
It challenges our categories.
It's exactly. Whether it's biology we don't understand, dimensions we can't perceive, or something else entirely. The phenomenon itself, the reporting of it, is undeniably real. It tells us there's still mystery out there.
So maybe the final thought for you listening is this. Next time you're driving down a quiet country road, maybe at dusk, or walking near some old woods, keep your eyes open. What if you saw something that didn't fit? What if the next sighting was yours? What would that encounter tell you about the edges of our known reality?